morning, everyone. Today is April 24th, 2023. We're here for our last SIG program of this session. Starting next week, we will not be Zooming. We will have people want to come here and meet and talk about things. We still do that, but only going to Zoom on the second and fourth Mondays until sometime in the fall. So thank you all for being here. Brian, Pat, for being on Zoom there. Appreciate that. So we will get this started here. We have 5 videos. We're trying to get Holly's loaded on, but for some reason we couldn't.
Yeah, from what I'm told, it's the formatting of this drive, but why it worked before, and I haven't reformatted it and didn't now, I have no idea. This same computer you said you had here.
It's that video mojo.
Yeah. Video.
All right. Let's get the screen sharing here. So the first one we're going to have here is Degrassi. It's by Royce, who's here for the last Monday. He's headed back north tomorrow. So do you want to tell us about this video?
Yeah, it's Degrassi, the artist up in, there's a place up north in Tucson, which you probably all know about, but my wife is really a fan of his. Her parents were a fan of his. They actually met him when they visited the place. He's quite a character. So we took another couple with us and we went up there and just did the tour. So that's not it.
All right.
Are you sharing? I mean, are you recording?
Recording and sharing.
Okay.
Only took maybe 6 weeks, but we're
So very soon we won't even have to ask him. There's no trouble free today. Way to go. Excellent. Yeah.
like how you timed the music with the change of the photos.
Yeah.
That was good. Usually a couple of seconds isn't long enough, but that worked in this case.
Manually, or how do you do that? I go up there and I click the song, said beat detect, puts all the markers in it and just go cheap.
You guys, does everybody know the Grazia's secret? He got into trouble with the IRS in the 1960s. So allegedly, he took a lot of his paintings, a ton of them, and he went deep into the Superstition Mountains and he put them in a cave. Is that true? I don't know, but people have been looking for it for 50 years.
I thought he burned them.
There's that story.
Yeah, because just went on the way there because the IRS was gonna, he wanted to have his family inherit. And the IRS was gonna just kill him on the inheritance taxes. And so he started giving them away or something like that, and then realized that if he created a nonprofit or a museum that
Yeah,
somehow or another, those would be protected.
there are a lot of
for
stories,
posterity.
but I will tell you that
Well, I love yours.
the best story is an actual observation. I went into his gallery in the 1970s. Up in that, it was in that same area. He was still alive. And another reporter and I went into the back room. I don't know how we got there. In the back room were probably 15 young Hispanic ladies copying the Grazia. So, and I mean, I witnessed this personally. Many of the paintings that are supposedly original, because he was just crazy about making money. And he was selling these as his originals, and they were actually painted by ladies in the back room.
And I had one now.
Just not his.
It's forgot how they put it, but it's a knockoff, you know.
Yeah, they were just painting these things as fast as they could.
In the video show, they had him doing one chalk, and man, he's like 5 minutes and it was done.
Oh, yeah, he was fast,
Yeah, it's.
but so were the
But
ladies.
what you did was really neat, because if you haven't been there, he's captured the look and the feel of the Grazio gallery without any textual comments or verbal comments. But you still, when you watch that, that's what that gallery feels like, you know, it's kind of neat.
I've been there in years.
That's there last year, it's really pretty cool.
The chapel, had fire inside maybe 6 years ago. And I guess they must have restored it, they must have restored it. The inside of the chapel looked good.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it had burned and
Okay.
they had done a lot of restoration. work
Yeah,
since.
there were rose petals all over. Somebody just got very, I assume that.
Cool.
All over the floor.
Right. When we were there, they brought out painting of UNICEF, and the little circle of all the. It's the UNICEF motto or whatever. That he did.
He was quite a character. I mean, he was very versatile in what he did too,
They didn't like the IRS.
you know.
No,
Any comments from our Zoom gallery?
Oh, comments from, okay, I love the music. That's toe tapping music. So, yeah, Purple Planet is a good source. I like that you moved right through it. Enough to see the art, but not enough to, examine it in detail. And I know there'll be some people that complain about that, but what I would kept thinking was, I gotta go to that place. Yeah, that's, it just made it onto the list of places for us to go visit. So thanks for that. I really like the video.
Alrighty, well, next up here is gonna be Tom. He has a little teaser for
Yeah.
El Tour de Tucson.
Yeah, this is one that we did the El Tour, I think it's the third Saturday in November. And I'm so far behind, I think I'm ahead. And but I wanted to get a teaser out and everything over the summer months and everything, so that it's like a preview of coming attractions. So that's it. And it features you'll be able to tell some of our photography club contributions and everything, particularly Doug. He was there with his GoPro and his drone video, or drone camera and everything. So it was a really sweet perspective that we got.
So Phil, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but previews they call trailers because originally they were shown after the movie instead of before.
It's probably true. Yeah.
but after a different move. right?
Pardon me?
It was like coming attractions they show after you saw a full movie that was different than the trailer.
Yes, that'd be different than a movie.
I think they called it originally because they were made after the film was either in production or cut,
Ah,
and it was the trailer,
yeah,
just putting together for publicity.
yeah,
Oh,
makes sense.
Well, this is definitely a teaser then, because there's nothing else done yet. So,
All right, well, here we go.
So that we hadn't done that before,
that was, the year before was the first time they'd done.
or,
Yeah, 2021. And so I think they got such a good review out of it and everything, they kind of made it a standard feature now. They'll show it.
more torture.
Yeah, oh yeah, because that run they're on is 900 miles flying from the valley here up to the,
900 miles.
or no, sorry. 900 feet. It's like 900 miles, if you notice.
Miles to me.
Yeah, if you notice that first batch of riders, they're just breezing through. And each wave that comes through, they're struggling a little bit more to get up that hill.
That was a good film. It was a nice job.
And, yeah, and Doug, like I say, Doug did all the GoPro video. He just set it up on the corner of the road. And then got his drone camera out and everything. Got some great shots. And then, Gene was there taking some shots and,
It was a learning experience for me because I didn't know what to expect, when to work at this aid station. But people would stop for water and stuff, and what I missed that I didn't know ahead of time, and I'm gonna go next year just to do it, is there are a million individual stories in there, these riders. They come off, they stop to get water, and some of them need some stuff done in their bike, every one of them has a story. There's some neat stuff in there, you know, this one girl said she was making 100 miles. And she said, I'm not even supposed to be here. She was 27 years old, had a massive heart attack. And her doctor at HEMA said, you gotta exercise. So she decided to write out her back.
I saw you on a bike there.
Yeah, right.
Okay. I guess that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Did the GoPro film the whole thing and then you guys cut out sequences?
no, I think Doug did snippets,
Okay.
with the GoPro and everything, because there's,
I like how that was stable for that, every shot was consistent.
So that was, he had the GoPro on the ground there?
right,
Yeah.
Okay.
as far as I know, yeah. And then, and he was experimenting a little bit with the drone. And so there's some that are cleaner than others. But there's just great footage out of all
Looks
that.
good. Looks,
The one thing Doug didn't realize was where we were actually staged for the aid station. And so he only followed the farm. And just before you get to the aid station on one side of the road and the power substation on the other side, up on Mission Road, he cuts it. And so it's like, you can see a car in the parking lot where we staged. But that was as close as he got to an overhead view of the aid
she
station.
could have used that for other,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
But that's something we'll be able to, learn from and we can do a little bit better even next year, so.
Since it's a trailer, I would have liked it in the beginning of it, a little more mixed of shots. It seemed like the writers were getting repetitive right there at the beginning of this trailer, it's just, you got a lot of dynamic stuff going on. I don't want to get footage for that. But I liked how you transitioned into where you just kind of invaded in just real fast like that. But it was a little repetitive for me on the beginning.
I found the same thing, because I know a few of you have shot the Tour de Tucson, and so we've seen some different clips and showing some other people, like the person with the handicap person or the son on the front, just something a little more,
Yeah.
variety than the same.
Yeah, what I got some of those shots and everything of the handicap riders. And it was amazing. You got a one-legged rider doing 102 miles. But what I was looking at doing there is kind of a postscript. And having a section on determination, just call it determination. And show these folks coming up that hill. It's like, if you just don't feel up to doing anything today, kind of use these guys as your inspiration. It was amazing. I mean,
So what's the intended audience? Where are you gonna run this?
basically, anybody that wants to watch, I mean,
You just did it.
yeah. Probably the GVR Cycling Club would be one.
Right.
Run.
Oh, you've been summoned.
You're gonna be doing it.
When is it held?
It's the last, it's the Saturday before Thanksgiving every year.
So Showtime, if they have it before Thanksgiving, would be a good time to show it, but I don't think, Chuck, you're here. You don't have a Showtime before Thanksgiving, do you?
No, first week in December.
Okay,
So,
sorry.
Yeah.
Shown.
So by that
Tour
time,
de
we'll be able
Tucson
to
there.
do, both the L Tour and the Ride of Silence. Because Ride of Silence comes up
Yeah.
from a Showtime point of view in the off season, so.
Was the GoPro restricted in any way? Do you have a pylon?
I'm not sure. I was hoping Doug would be here to kind of explain the setup. And
I think you just had it set out there on a tripod.
There's that photo up
Tripod?
in the newsletter.
Yeah.
And now Neil does links. So if you put it on the Camera Club YouTube channel, he could do a link to it.
Well,
And people would see it ahead of time and it would maybe stimulate somebody to get out there and film
Yeah,
video.
yeah, because we can put out a call for volunteers, almost like we did the last time, because Doug and Gene responded to Danny's e-blast, looking for volunteers and everything to go out and help with L Tour.
Yeah.
And based on
Passing out bananas. I mean, everything, including taking pictures.
so
Any comments, Brian or Pat?
I would just echo what Roy said. It did seem a little repetitive up front, but I still really liked the initial nothings going on to all of a sudden the people fading in. That was well done. And the drone shots also enjoyed those.
All right, so next on our list here, Joe, it's called Jeepin'.
Okay, so couple guys, couple friends.
Remember, they can't see
Yeah, okay,
it.
couple friends.
If you come back this way and look up.
Go that way.
See it.
Yeah.
Yeah, come over here.
back that way. There you go. There you go. Now you're in.
all right.
It's all about me, right?
Yeah.
So a couple friends invited me to go along in a Jeep ride, and you guys may know about a group in Green Valley where they just go out every Wednesday morning. I guess they meet at McDonald's and go out and what I had in mind is not at all what happened. But I'm not even sure I thanked them for inviting me when it was all over, but so I was taking pictures. One of the guys that had purchased his second Jeep, a new red, or not new, but a new to him, red Jeep. And I mean, what I had in mind, what I expected to see was this, you've seen the videos where they try to go over big rocks, and that isn't at all what happened. It turned out that these guys were out looking for old mines south of town here, or south and west, and they're looking for old mines, and they're rock hounds. So anyhow, so the presentation, the audience that I had in mind was going to be them. He gets to see pictures of his new red Jeep, and the other guy gets pictures. So and I'll apologize again for being too lazy to find the copyright free and
Music.
okay. They made me do it.
All right.
Keyboard.
Yeah.
Bad boys, what you want, what you gonna do when your mission don't come for you? Tell me what you wanna do, what you gonna do? Yeah, bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? When you were 8 and you had bad traits, you go to school and learn the golden rule. So why are you acting like a bloody fool? If you get hot, then you must get cool. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? You chuck it on that one, you chuck it on this one, you chuck it on your mother and you chuck it on your father, you chuck it on your brother and you chuck it on your sister, you chuck it on that one and you chuck it on me. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Nobody now give you no break. Police now give you no break. And that old soldier man give you no break. Not even your idol now give you no break. Well, hey, bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Why did you have to act so mean? Don't you know you're a human being? Born of a mother with the love of a father. Reflection comes and reflection goes. I know sometimes you wanna let go. Hey, I know sometimes you wanna let go. Hey. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they
Boy, doesn't it almost look like a gravestone off to the left there, straight left, rounded top? Almost could be a grave marker. I'm sure it's not, but almost could be.
It's a barrel cactus.
Anybody here from Ohio? All those Jeeps are made of Toledo, Ohio, that you saw in the video. Except for the Grand Cherokees. They build them in Detroit, and Fiat Chrysler pays a bonus to their most experienced workers to work in the factory that build the Grand Cherokee. So they're pretty neat machines if you know their history. All the way back to World War II.
Towards the end there was like a little fenced off area with a plaque in it. What was that?
Well, I'm not sure the different land out there, but you're supposed to have a permit. You all may know more about it than,
That's a glory hole. And by state law, you have to put up a Peligroso sign, danger, and then fence them. Now, is it always the case? And a lot of the fences have fallen, but it's just a vertical shaft.
Okay.
And the number of kids that have been killed driving into those in the middle of the night is quite substantial.
Wow.
But that's the Bureau, State Mine, whatever it is, department requires if that's your land and you've got a vertical shaft, a glory hole, you gotta fence it with barbed wire and put up that sign. And they're all over the place. I mean, they're.
So there was another shot you had in there. It looked like you were looking into a mine, but was that a abandoned vehicle in there?
yeah, one of the guys tried to sell me that Jeep. And it was really hard to, I mean, it was kind of scary to, he got is, I reached out just like that. I couldn't see what I was shooting. But, yeah, it was a Jeep. And I mean, maybe somebody was there at night that shouldn't have been or something. It was strange, but, yeah, so this guy's, one of the guys was kind of a historian. I mean, the guy really knows his stuff. And the week before there were 14 Jeeps. This week there were only 5, everybody's going home, but, it was educational. Do you remember the can?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what that was?
No.
One of the guys has a collection of rocks and remnants. It was a can that would have been what the miners had their lunch. They would heat those things.
Sterno?
I don't know what it was, but then there was all this history. The history he attached this can to the history of miners dying prematurely. And because he said
Lead poisoning.
it was the lead sealing, the lead used to seal the.
You could do a legacy video on those miners, the Jeep drivers, I mean, that we're talking about. The miners.
Well, one of the guys was pretty good. A lot of information, a lot of history. So while it wasn't the exciting action packed, I mean, really, I was all excited for the big rock climbs, see if they could roll them over or whatever they wanted to do.
You were looking for monster trucks.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Joe's.
You weren't four-wheeling unless you tipped over at least once.
All right.
And his Toyota 4Runner showed that. It had to modify it several times because he rolled it over several times.
Do you know how many old mines there are though, just around this area?
Hundreds, maybe even thousands.
And then you would look at the rock formations and try to, one of the guys understood that this was for water and this was for this and this was for that. And then they were looking around for the rocks, the corners of what might have been, they theorized not part of the mining, but the miners, the workers, very small. If it's true, they were very small, looked like one guy could sleep in there, have room for a mattress and not much more.
You're doing a great job for just starting to make videos.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you.
So you've got a microphone in your camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe next time, ask somebody to tell you a couple of stories along the way.
Excellent idea. I just go
Yeah,
into
the
it.
can story would be great.
Sir, oh, yeah,
Okay,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, that would.
I really do appreciate it.
Because you're telling us stories secondhand now, but you could have gotten them right then and there.
Could have gotten your first time. Yeah.
I'm sure you pack your drone with you too, so you can fly it.
And don't forget your GoPro.
Yeah, set down.
Well, you just gotta go out there and you can do the ones with wheel shots.
Yeah.
Maybe you could all come along.
Now you have to buy a Jeep.
Yeah, now, yeah, right.
Well, they asked me at the end if I was gonna buy one.
Maybe you can go back and still get it.
That one.
Oh my God.
Now, do let any old Jeep owners participate, or do you have to have a Rubicon?
Oh, no, I
Because
mean,
those are high-end
One of them-
Jeeps.
Yeah,
So one was fairly stunning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So John, can he go back and interview the guy with the can right now, but just cut that in?
Sure, absolutely. You could go to his house and sit him down and do a little interview with him and then.
Yep.
You know, let it, use it as a narration track for what you see.
And then
You could actually
change that
show him,
music to something.
show him what you've done and say, you know, now can you tell me what we saw? Talk to me about what we did, what we
Yeah.
saw, where we were.
yeah,
It sounds like you've got one guy who's a real historian.
yeah.
So just sit them down and, you know, you could just cut them in and then let the pictures tell the story.
Then the other thing I didn't, no camera I have would ever have captured it, but there was during, when they sat around the circle at lunchtime, there was an air show. It was the jets, I don't know,
Oh, yeah.
3 or 4 jets, just doing rolls and all sorts of fine stuff, but it was in the clouds.
Practice.
Thunder and lightning in Tucson.
I don't know, it's pretty
No,
good.
well, they go out that way to
Yep.
training.
Yeah, for the
Ranch,
range and stuff.
yep.
Yeah.
Very good.
Oh, thank you.
Good job.
Think my Subaru would go on that road?
Yeah.
Make a couple of comments.
It'd probably go up. Might not hold up for the trip back.
Yeah, that road, I think you could.
Yeah.
So Brian or Pat, any comments?
Yeah. First of all, you were a little nervous, leaning out, taking that photograph. I could tell you a few stories from our days in search and rescue and mine rescue. I'll really set your mind at ease with one. When they drive a shaft and it's straight down, they put what's called a collar. It's made out of wood around the very top of it to control erosion. Well, when the mine is abandoned, the first thing they do is they take that out because it's made of wood, and wood is hard to get in the desert, especially nice timber type wood. The minute they take the wood away, erosion sets in. And one very common result of that is as the water runs over the edge, it starts to undercut around the edges. And we've seen mine shafts that are apparently the original size, but they're cut back 4 and 5 feet underneath. So
Underground, yeah.
people walk out to the edge. If it's only, like a foot thick or so, they can't tell, and it breaks away underneath them. And search and rescue gets another body recovery mission. So you need to be very, very careful approaching mine shafts. Just saying. To the film.
I was thinking a selfie stick would have been good.
Yeah, the most I've ever seen it undercut is about 6 feet. But then, that's 100 years of erosion. To the film itself, I finally decided that you had an automatic pan and zoom setting turned on, because every picture was a pan, a zoom in, a zoom out. And about the time I was starting to wonder if you wanted so much movement in your video, why didn't you actually shoot video? And then the video clip came on. I thought, hey, you need more video and less seasick in and out, in and out, in and out. It's distracting, and you've got some nice pictures. So personally, we use a zoom to draw attention to something specific, or to pull back and do a reveal of a larger thing that you want people to let it come as a surprise out of the photo. That's a personal preference on my part, I guess, but consider it for your next outing.
Yep.
And finally, the thing you were talking about, cutting in, can you do that? You can always go back and edit a film. That's why you save the file.
Yeah, and I appreciate the in and out talk. It bothered me when I was doing it.
But
There you
It was very good.
that a little bit. Kevin's style is to do.
You know what? And that
Do the
was,
slides, do the in and out, and I kind of bought into that a little bit, but the last one I did, I decided, no, I'm not doing that because of the music. was too distracting, so I didn't do any of that.
And Royce, I thought of Kevin when I was doing it.
Yeah. Sucks about that, but I think he's intermixing the actual video with stills.
Yep.
And so in the video, you got
Yep.
movement, so it's stills, you want to continue that movement.
Yep.
I don't know.
No, thank you.
Royce had a
Thank you.
good point. You can use drones. I dropped drones into a number of those shafts, but the worst one was it encountered bees.
Wow.
It apparently, as it went down, it chopped into a beehive, and that drone must have killed 5,000 bees.
Did you get it back?
Yeah, oh yeah, it flew out. It was one of those, it was the Phantoms, and so it's big, and it just bee parts came flying out of that shack. And I have the footage. It was amazing.
Don't show that today.
We'll see.
What's happening? Don't show that footage because the big guys. will come in.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Well, the bird guys will come, he'll come out.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Birds and bees, I don't care.
Lots of bees.
Birds and bees. Huh?
It's a bird's beak.
They definitely fly into those areas.
Yeah.
All right, so next
Talk
up,
about that, can you?
next up, we have Arlene.
So this is a cartoon that I made about 4 years ago. And it took a long, long time. It took months to do, with writing the story and bringing the story to life. And so I had this guy, there was a lot of stress in my life then. And so, because you have to be so incredibly focused when you do animation, that it just took over my life.
All right.
Now I love animation.
Once upon a time, there lived a very proud and ancient race of people who lived high in the mountains in a land called Mistbank, which is covered in ice and snow for most of the year. There is no pollution, and the pristine air caused their noses to grow very long and thin. These people are called pokies, and they are very vain about their noses and dependent on their extraordinary sense of smell to detect their food, tubers, and lichens during a limited spring harvest time. There are many advantages to such long noses. Some pokies enjoy holding little sword fights amongst themselves. A pokey can detect friends coming along before they even get to the door. Pokey mothers sometimes dry bits of laundry by hanging it from their noses. One disadvantage, however, is that pokies must always sleep on their backs or sleep in specifically constructed beds with a hole cut out for their nose to hang through when they're on their tummies. And also, pokies must always be very careful when kissing. Life at the snowy rooftop of the world is very beautiful but harsh. Mistbank is always shrouded in clouds, and the pokies can only see for a mile in any direction. Local lore says there is nothing but clouds beneath the clouds and more clouds. A typical pokey day consists of waking up at dawn to socialize and sing in the town square. Filling their lungs with all that pristine air, they send their songs throughout the mountains, making for a happy community. All the pokies were happy except young Tip, whose parents vanished years ago without a trace. Despite extensive searching by the community, it was presumed they had fallen to their deaths through the clouds. She often puzzled over a strange memory she had of the day they disappeared. That fateful day, Tip sat high atop one of the mountain peaks looking down. She rarely saw anything unusual, so she just glanced at the clouds, longing for adventure. She was bored with the endless snow and ice. Suddenly, there was a break in the clouds, and a glimpse of green appeared far below. Tip could hardly believe her eyes. Something green? Something not ice and snow? Back at Miss Bank, she excitedly told her friends Bounce and Hopper, who were skeptical. "You are mistaken, Tip," they said. "The elders told us there is nothing below us, just clouds." "You're goofy," they laughed. Tip ran to tell her parents, searching through the house, then the village, but they were gone. That memory haunted her for years. What had she really seen? Despite what the elders told her, that her parents probably fell to their death, Tip sensed there was another answer, and she vowed to follow her instincts. On her 16th birthday, Tip decided to leave Miss Bank and seek out the green patch she had seen through the clouds years ago. She planned to hike down several miles through the clouds and explore. She told no one of her plans and hoped she could get back that same day before she was missed. Early that morning, Tip packed a few things and set off to face the unknown. As she began her trek, she wavered as she heard Pokey's happy morning song in the distance. "I'll be back soon," she thought, "but today I'm an adventurer, and I will travel farther than any other Pokies have done." Tip was so happy, she thought the mountains were bouncing with joy for her too. After a while, Tip stopped to rest on a large overhanging rock. Suddenly, she heard cracking sounds. Then the rock broke free, catapulting Tip into the open air and a bottomless abyss. Tip screamed and screamed, falling faster and faster, until she blacked out, as her last thoughts were of being smashed to pieces against the mountain. Her mind went dark. Tip awoke, felt herself sneeze, "Achoo!" and realized she was alive in a strange place of beautiful colors swirling about her, and a thick carpet of grass and flowers beneath her, breaking her fall. She sneezed again. "Achoo!" Above her, through the clouds, she thought she could see her Miss Bank, and felt a pang of fear. Would she be able to get home after falling so far? Oh, Tip was so scared, but remembered the song her mother used to sing to her so long ago, and her thoughts about Miss Bank and her parents and her friends, and she started singing as tears were streaming down her face.
"My mother never cries. She works from morn to night. She says don't worry, but I still do. My father never lies. He says he's always right. He says don't worry, but I still do. I know that grown-ups try to hide things to convince us they are strong. But every time they say those words, I know something's wrong. I wish I didn't feel afraid to be afraid, need to be braver to get me through. I know that grown-ups hide their feelings to convince that all is well. They try to keep their worries hidden, but I can always tell. I wish I didn't feel afraid to be afraid, need to be braver to get me through. They say don't worry, but I still do.
Back at Miss Bank, Tip's absence was noticed, Bounce and Hopper told the elders about Tip's vision and her desire to explain her parents' disappearance. Everyone in the community was concerned about Tip and wanted to find her. The Pokies were a nervous bunch, but set off anyway, with the younger children delighted at this adventure of a lifetime. Eventually, the group stumbled upon an old ice cave they never saw before and cautiously walked into the cave for warmth and a look around. There they noticed a very steep, very long, dark tunnel. The Pokies' leader hesitated, but some children had already disappeared into the tunnel, and the rest followed. The slippery, icy floor sent them all sliding down, 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 screaming and tumbling over each other inside the darkness of the cave. Finally, they landed in heaps at the grassy base of the green and forested mountain. Stunned and silent from the fall, first the mare sneezed. A startling sound. Then others began to sneeze, until the entire population of Pokies people were sneezing and blowing and sneezing. It was the pollen. After Tip plummeted down the snowy mountain, landing at the bottom, she realized a four-legged creature was watching her. The little bee slowly approached and put a warm nose in Tip's hair, taking a deep sniff. Tip was astonished. What is this thing? Realizing it wasn't going to eat her, and seemed friendly enough, Tip decided to name her Philomena and began to sing a song by that name to welcome the animal.
Filomena, mi amiga, Filomena, gracias por tu ayuda. Filomena, mi amiga, Filomena, gracias por tu ayuda.
Philomena listened with interest, and Tip started to sing another song, but then let out a gigantic sneeze. Achoo! More sneezes followed as Philomena backed away from the explosive sounds coming from Tip. Tip's singing had carried quite a distance, alerting the nearby Pokies to her presence. Tip is here! Tip is here! They began to yell between sneezes. Achoo! Tip is here! Achoo! We're here, Tip! Achoo! We're all here to save you! We're coming for you! But Tip, sneezing so hard, didn't hear them and proceeded to walk in the opposite direction with Philomena leading. Was Philomena taking her to her parents? To be continued.
God, Arlene, how long did it take you to make
Months.
that? Oh, very good. I know some kindergarten teachers would just love you.
So how much of the animation was yours and
Oh, all the animation.
all the animation?
All
So
the-
like when the
Like
mountains,
the
the background?
All the animation stuff, yeah.
But
Wow.
not the
No,
But
but
not,
not,
the- but so some of it. So some of it, I found on Pixabay, some of it is mine, all the animation I do.
Wow.
And the songs were from, my friend, Sean.
So did she write the story?
I wrote. the
You wrote the story, but she had the music.
So what I did was I called her and said, hey, I wrote the story, I'd like some music, can you do this for me? And she said, sure. So,
so how do you get it to your audience, which I assume is kids, right? Do you
yeah,
have a
I
YouTube
just,
channel?
no, I just did this for myself.
You might want to put it on YouTube. I bet you'd get a lot of kids, you know, hoping to kids that would.
You have to do a little kids release on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can do it, it's
I
not
could do that,
complicated.
Yeah.
The children would know it, it's just
Yeah.
so cute, so fun, children would know it, I know it.
I agree with you.
Alrighty, any comments, Brian or Pat? No? All right, and our last video,
Comment about, there was some time, my ears are best, but the music was too loud versus your voice. I couldn't pick out and distinguish.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
your dialogue is important to the story, and it's like, okay, I can't hear what you're saying.
And your first narration had background noise. And it didn't seem to appear in the rest of it, but the first part had something like, somebody was building a house next door or something.
It could have been, yeah.
all right, and the last video we have here is one that Joe did. Joe, you want to tell us about it?
I don't know if you know about it's a place called the Warehouse. North end of town, north and west. And it's a gal that opens up once a month. Ring a bell with anybody?
Yeah.
Well, she if you sign up, she'll notify you what Wednesday it's going to be. And it's like 5 o'clock, people are all lined up. And the warehouse, she seems to I guess it's mostly used, I guess it's used stuff. But she's using this wine and crackers and whatever as a lure. So the wine is free, boxed wine, various types. And so the idea is sip and shop. And loosen up the customers, right? So my wife and I have been going now for, I don't know, we seem to go most every month. For just looking for some sort of, she's into interior decorating. The gal is the owner. And I've had apprehensions a couple times about photographing there because it's private property and, it's kind of like, I don't have permission. And she knows the gal knows I'm doing it, but she hasn't said anything. I guess I haven't upset anybody yet. But, anyhow, we took our friends, and so again, the audience that I had in mind at the time was them. And then I thought, hey, maybe I could turn it into a movie to share a class, so.
Good.
I'm the center of attention in this barroom, 'cause I've got the biggest heartache of the year. And each night those swinging doors reach out for me and draw me in, 'cause they know each night that I'll come back to wind me up again. Wind me up, turn me on, and watch me cry for you. Lately, drinking warm red wine give. Wind me up, turn me on, and watch me cry for you. Lately, drinking warm red wine is all I wanna do. And I never know how tight I'll wind me up till I walk in. But I don't care, 'cause I'll be back to wind me up again.
Where is that exactly?
It's kind of an industrial area.
Tucson or Green Valley?
Oh, no, it's
No, it's
north,
Valley.
north and west
You know-
in Green Valley. All those utility, all the companies, like service companies are up, you might
Turn like Friends Indeed.
Gasoline alley,
it might
gasoline alley, gasoline alley.
Is that up to
Automobile repair shop.
Bullseye?
No,
It's where,
No.
it's where the Animal League is,
Yeah, up, sort of that area.
that general.
No, it's not there. Yeah.
No, oh, I know.
It's at the very end of the road, and I don't know those street names.
Right.
If you go past, I don't know, you go past, Friends of D, go up to the second right. Then you go in about 2 blocks and then a left, and it's the very end of the road.
Yeah, there's a kind of a new popular quilling shop up that way and warehouses galore and,
Go past Green Valley, eating and cooling.
And the water
that's
company.
right.
Okay. Wow.
Nice
Yeah.
job.
Oh,
You're
thank
really
you.
catching on to this quick.
Well, it's not easy. And again, I think like Brian was suggesting, there was a lot of that in and out stuff. Cause I just remember Kevin saying how he liked to have motion with every image. And am I doing too much motion in and out? Should I alternate, do you think?
It really depends on what you want your style to be.
Hell, I don't know.
That's research out, but you made a comment the last time about you didn't feel right about something. Usually if you have that feeling, you need to go
Stick with it.
change it.
Yeah, stick with it.
Yeah, it was easy on the eye.
Yeah, that's the way.
It was easy on the eye.
What's that?
The whole show.
The way you presented it.
Oh.
Yeah. So there wasn't anything going, ew.
Yeah, there was a few that were easy on the eye and I remember, from the bottom to the top. They did it, Just kidding.
Well, it's like this warehouse business, the gal started with maybe 2 rooms, 3 at the most, and then she's expanded. And it's like, she has an eye for displaying. It's like, you cannot, you know how it is once in a while you go into a place, you cannot take a bad picture in there. It's weird. She's really got talent. I mean, she doesn't clutter it, but it's all just, it's like going to an art museum or something. I don't know.
That's a special talent.
Yeah.
And the people that have it, they have it.
It's a lot of fun.
Yep.
Your video.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
It was nice.
very good.
Yep.
And it made us all want to go there.
Look around. Brian, Pat, any comments?
Enjoyed it. It left me smiling.
It was good music too. So you said it's
It's-
copyrighted
yeah.
music, so.
It was about wine, a wine drinking country guy.
Yeah, that was fair and young, all right.
Yeah.
He consumed more than his share of.
All right, well, that wraps up all the videos we have for today, and it's a little bit past 11, so thank everybody for attending, appreciate that, and
Thank you, Todd.
run a little smooth.
Good job, Todd.
Thanks. Well, you're welcome.
More Zoom use.